What's going on, comic fam? It's your boy, the Bearded Comic Bro, and we are back for another episode of Batman Key First Appearances. That's right, this is where I look at some of my favorite Batman key first appearances in comic books that aren't going to break the bank, that aren't really there for a spec on, but they're there for you as a Batman fan to make sure you guys get. And today's a special episode because we are going to be doing first appearances in comic books of characters that first made their appearance in Batman the Animated Series. Gang, this is a blast, and these are all going to be affordable keys, so we're not going to be talking about Batman Adventures number 12, aka the first appearance of Harley Quinn, because she also first appeared in the Batman animated show. These are going to be books that I think you might enjoy and that are going to be super affordable. So with that being said, let's talk comics. Gang, if you know me, you know I love Batman the Animated Series. It is what got me into Batman. I love everything about that show. I watch it all the time. And some of my favorite characters came from the TV show Batman the Animated Series. And we're going to talk about one of my favorite characters, and that is the Gray Ghost. Gang, the Gray Ghost first appeared in Beware of the Gray Ghost. Only in one episode did the Gray Ghost appear in Batman the Animated Series. This episode took place in October of 1992. And it is this cool story of the Gray Ghost as a character like a noir style character like The Shadow and stuff, like a pulpy superhero. And Bruce Wayne used to watch episodes of the Gray Ghost when he was a kid with his dad. Sweet, right? And it inspired him to see this superhero to be someone that he then could be a superhero. It's all they talk about the inspiration through and through in this episode, how the Batcave's designed after the Gray Ghost's lair, and Batman meets up with the Gray Ghost and shows Gray Ghost his collection. So Batman's a nerd like all of us, which is great because he's a collector. And it's just a really cool episode. And this idea of the Gray Ghost is he's a washed-up actor. He's been typecast his entire life. He's played by a character named Simon Trent. No one wants to cast Simon Trent in anything else because people are like, it's the Gray Ghost. And this was a Batman, the animated series creators, it was kind of their tribute and homage to Adam West. Because as you know, the stories, Adam West was very typecast after his portrayal of Batman. And he really couldn't get a lot of work, just things that he wasn't really interested in. And what's really cool, too, about this episode of The Gray Ghost and Batman, Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, they said they would not have done the episode if Adam West didn't agree to voice the character of the Gray Ghost. So Adam West is kind of playing an homage to his character, Batman, as he was Batman in the 66 and dealt with all the stuff that the Gray Ghost is dealing with of being typecast. And it was a beautiful tribute to Adam West. And I think the creators say they said they're like, we're not going to do this if he isn't cool with it because we don't want it to be making fun of him or to make it feel like he's upset with us. And so it's a beautiful tribute to just the lore of Batman. So Gray Ghost is one of my favorite characters. And he's been popping up in comic books a little bit more often. Most recently, he was just seen in White Knight series, the Harley Quinn series. So let's talk comic books. The Gray Ghost first did an appearance, it's actually a cameo appearance in Batman Adventures, issue number 33. Bruce Wayne is going to a movie and he's watching the Gray Ghost. So you see the Gray Ghost on the panel at the movie theater. But that's really it. We then see our first cover appearance, which is one of my favorite covers of the Gray Ghost. It's one of those action figure variant covers. And this is in Batman Gotham Adventures, issue number 3. Really cool. This is his first cover appearance. But the first appearance of the Gray Ghost in comic books is actually Batman Adventures, issue number 14. Gang, this is a really fun issue. It has Clayface. Gray Ghost is shooting a movie and gets kidnapped. Just a blast. Tons of fun to read. If you love the Gray Ghost from the TV show, this is going to hit you in the nostalgia feels for sure. This is a really cool book to get. What's really sweet too about this is looking at sold prices on eBay, you can get it anywhere from $2 to $7. So again, these aren't going to be key issues that are going to break your bank. Both of the cameo and the cover appearances aren't expensive. Highly recommend, if you are a fan of the Gray Ghost, get these books. They're not going to spike. I don't ever see them using Gray Ghost in movies or in TV shows. But as a Batman fan, I just think it's such a cool character to show, kind of how Batman got this idea and someone he looked up to. I love everything about the Gray Ghost. I love that episode, the Mad Bomber, and everything about it. So, gang, if you are a fan of the animated series and the Gray Ghost, get these books. Up next, we're going to talk about a character who has already made an appearance in movies. And if I'm being honest, if any character has a chance for any spec at all, it's going to be this character. And no, it's not Mr. Freeze. I'm talking about the lovely Mrs. Nora Fries. That's right, gang. We're talking about Mr. Freeze's wife. Now, Nora Fries first appeared in Batman the Animated Series in one of my favorite episodes called Heart of Ice, and this aired in September of 1992, and this was a defining moment for Mr. Freeze. Before this episode, creators really didn't know what to do with Mr. Freeze, the character. You saw that in the 66 TV show. You saw that all the time showing up in comic books. There was just kind of a gimmicky, a character to be there when you needed a villain. But what Bruce Timm and Paul Dini did with Mr. Freeze's origin story here was beautiful. And it basically has now become Batman continuity of when you think of Mr. Freeze, you think of him trying to save his wife, Nora Fries, who has a rare disease, a McGregor disease kind of thing. You saw that in Batman and Robin movie. And it's a driving force for Mr. Freeze. They've done some stuff where she's popped up in the Lazarus Pit in a Batgirl series, I think in Batgirl 69, in issue 70, and she was going to be a villain, and that kind of fizzled out. You see her in, I believe it was in the Detective Comics series as of late, where they had her as, he basically brings her out and she becomes Mrs. Freeze. I don't think that's a character that's going to stick, but if you want that, that's fine. But I think Nora Fries really defines and humanizes Mr. Freeze's character. And so I think if anyone ever wants to do Mr. Freeze moving forward, they're going to use the origin story that we got in this animated series. And this is Nora Fries' first appearance in comic books. This is where we get the kind of basically the Heart of Ice issue. This is actually written, I believe, by Paul Dini. Yeah, and Mark Buckingham. And so you're getting where they're taking the Heart of Ice issue and they're putting it into comics, so we get that continuity a little bit more of and grounding Mr. Freeze as a legitimate villain in Batman's Rogues. And we'll talk about that more on a Batman villain profile of Mr. Freeze, but this is a key book I think that you should get because Nora Fries is a great character because she makes Mr. Freeze an even better villain. eBay prices of this, sold prices go from anywhere from $7 to $16. So again, super affordable. Go get this if you are a fan of Mr. Freeze, because if you're a fan of Mr. Freeze, you got to be a fan of Nora Fries because she makes his origin story work. Up next, we're going to be talking about a character that not a lot of people remember, but if you watch the TV show, you will. We're talking Lockup. Lockup first appeared in an episode called Lockup, and Lockup aired in November of 1994. Lockup, aka Lyle Bolton, was voiced by Bruce Weitz, and I'm sure butchering the name like usual. And this is a story of he's a security guard at Arkham who abuses the inmates and they want nothing to do with him. They're afraid of him. And he's like, hey, well, you guys deserve to be here. I'm going to punish you. And he does extreme punishments. Basically, Bruce Wayne and the board find out. They have him have to leave. They fire him from Arkham. 6 months later, a vigilante named Lockup pops up. He looks like shoulder pads and a mask and actually a pretty cool costume. But rather than going for criminals, Lockup is going after the first person he kidnaps is Summer Gleason, who is another character from Batman the Animated Series, who is for that series, but she's a TV reporter, like a Vicky Vale kind of thing. And he basically is I'm going after the liberal media who are causing these villains and glorifying these villains and are really the real villains by putting this. And it's like, holy cow, this episode was in 1994. This feels like something out of 2020, 21, 22. Like, this feels like something that you could actually turn into a comic book right now, and people will be like, whoa, this is super political, and it'll be like, whoa, it happened in 1994, because Lockup goes after the media, he goes after the police, he goes after the government. It's like, pooh, woo. And so this could be something that they do sometime, who knows. But Lockup's first appearance is actually in Robin, issue 24. This is the series that I grew up reading, the Tim Drake the best Robin, let's be honest. And sales for these books are like $2. Honestly, you can get this in the dollar bin. Like, don't even buy eBay. Just go to your comic shop. They'll probably give it to you. But it's a first appearance of Lockup. Again, not a character that's going to probably ever be used, but I think could be utilized because of his origin story. It'd be a really unique story nowadays, I think. Who knows? But gang, if that's something that's up your alley, again, $2 on eBay probably, but you can probably find it for $1 in your comic shop dollar bins. We only got a couple more characters left. That's right, we got 2 more characters, and we are going to another character named Kyodai Ken. That's right, Kyodai Ken showed up first in Night of the Ninja. This aired in October of 1992, as well as, I think we had another one. Kyodai Ken is voiced by Robert Ito. Really cool story. It gives me the Batman Begins vibes of where we're seeing Bruce Wayne's origins of he's going in training. So how did he become this fighter? Well, he went, over to Asia and was fighting and training, and really cool to see that aspect of Bruce Wayne. And Bruce had a rival, Kyodai Ken. They always were fighting, and basically Bruce confronts Kyodai Ken when he was trying to steal something. Kyodai Ken basically then says, I'm going to hunt you down, Bruce Wayne, and ruin your life, and all this jazz. And we see this in that episode in flashbacks, as there's a ninja who is robbing and stealing things from Bruce Wayne, Wayne Corporation buildings and things like that. And finally, Batman confronts Kyodai Ken at one point, and he's like, ooh, I realize who you are, and I know what you're doing. And this is kind of one of those episodes of Batman the Animated Series where Batman and Bruce Wayne kind of have to deal with their, I don't need Robin, I need to do this on my own kind of thing. We actually see Kyodai Ken pop up a couple times, not a couple, but one more episode later in Batman the Animated Series. Most of these characters that we've talked about are one episode and they're done. He finally shows up in comic books in Detective Comics 996, The Road to 1,000. So it has been just very recently that Kyodai Ken has showed up in comic book form. And gang, I've never realized how hard it is to say Kyodai Ken 5,000 times in an episode. I've probably said it 18 different ways here, but you get the point. Showed up in Detective Comics 996. And gang, this is one of those comics that is going for anywhere from $4 to $6 online. Easy to get. Really cool, to have that as a first appearance in comic books. Gang, we're on our last character, and we were talking about one of the craziest characters that I thought they created in Batman the Animated Series. We're talking about Baby Doll. Baby Doll first appeared in Batman the Animated Series in a show called Baby Doll. And the premise of Baby Doll is she is a child star, but she has this rare disease where she can't grow older. So she's like 30 years old when she's starting this. And she had those catchphrases. She was always a child. And then, season 3 or season 4, they bring in kind of like a cousin who starts to get all the jokes and the laughs away from Baby Doll. And basically the series gets canceled. Well, because of her, condition, she tries to do serious acting, and people they can't. It's that kind of gray ghost, that typecasting, but even more to an extent because she is a adult but in a child body. So unique, weird stories. Baby Doll pops up a couple times in Batman the Animated Series. She has a really weird episode with Killer Croc. We'll go into that maybe some other time. But I think what's a really cool is this first episode. I remember watching it as a kid and thought it was such a cool idea and premise, as she then kidnaps all the cast members from her show and is trying to recreate the magic that they had because she just wants a family. And holy cow, the emotion and heartstrings that Batman the Animated Series puts on TV shows. I watch it now as an adult and I'm like, wow, I didn't even get half this stuff as a kid. Baby Doll was voiced by Alison LaPlacha, and she does a really good job of changing the voice for different parts of the roles that they need in the episode. Really cool. But Baby Doll's first appearance is in Batman White Knight issue number 2. And this is actually the second printing. I don't have the first printing because I bought the trade, but I needed to have this Baby Doll, and I gotta have the first printing. At some point I will. This is probably the most expensive book. It goes for like $10 to $15. And if I'm being honest, it probably should be listed as a cameo appearance because I think Baby Doll appears in 2 panels. And she does say her catchphrase that she says in the animated show of, "Didn't mean to." And she's also sitting right by Killer Croc in there, where it's like, "It's a big rock," which also is a classic Killer Croc line from Batman the Animated Series. So it's cool that Sean Murphy is paying tribute. He does that all the time in these White Knight series of paying tribute to the 66 show, the animated series show, and things like that. So, well, that's it, gang. We've wrapped up. We've talked about 5 characters that were created in Batman the Animated Series and their first appearance in comic books. What'd you think of the show? Do you own these comics? Which one's your favorite character that was created from Batman the Animated Series? Do you like this idea of doing minor Batman keys? And let me know in the comments, and I'll keep doing these if you guys like it. With that being said, though, hopefully you can find some time to curl up, grab a book, and nerd out. Peace.